Is the standard Langstroth hive. Just want you to see that I have proper identification on the side of my hive. This is a two-story hive. The hive body down here, this has a screen bottom. It has an IPM board for checking for mites. We take and coat this with olive oil or some substance. There's a screen right in between here. We can run powdered sugar down there to check for mites, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's say we come out of the bee yard. The first thing you want to do when you go to the bee yard is what? Make sure that you have bees flying. Bees flying. And does anybody know if you have a, excuse me, I got a bit of a cold. Have you ever seen bees rob? Have you ever seen the waxy coating they get on the front? You ever notice that? You'll see all across here a waxy coating where they've been robbing the hive out. So we're going to check this hive. First thing I will do, of course, is smoke it. Take the hive till smoke it. I'm going to set the super off. Because what's happened in wintertime is bees have moved up. So since the bees are moved up, I'm going to move them back down because they want to move up. Because they live in trees normally, and that's their natural progression. So what I'm going to do is, I have a feeder in here, holds about a gallon. It's going to be on the south wall, excuse me, because it's warmer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look through here, and I'm going to assume there's not a lot of bees here because everybody's pretty much up here. So I've got the lid to keep the bees off the ground more or less. And let's just, for the sake of the conversation, the bees are up in here. So I will then take some of the frames out, set them against the hive. Remember, there's not many bees on these, so I can set them out. Then what I'll do is check inside the hive, excuse me, see if there's any brood. And if I have brood, I'm going to check and make sure that it's not diseased. Check for cappings that aren't sunken, in case there was American foul brood, and I'll set that down inside the colony. You have to kind of use your imagination. What is American foul brood? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody see it?
Oh, yeah.
What is it?
It's a virus.
No, bacteria.
Virus.
Bacteria.
It's a virus? Yes, it is. It's highly infectious. And what will happen is when the robbing starts with bees will come into the hive and take the honey, and they'll take that disease with them. What it does is it affects the brood, and the brood actually dies in the cell. It looks like caramel, or caramel, if you prefer. And the way you can tell is you can take and hold the frame up. If it has American foul brood, take a little, terribly sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. Take a stick, and you can string it. You'll actually take the stick and string where the foul brood is. If it runs back, that's how you'll know. So anybody seen foul brood before? Yeah? What do you know about it? Tell us more. I need a break from my throat here. Go ahead.
When we started keeping bees, foul brood was much more prevalent than it is today. And we learned that we carry wooden matches. Okay? When you open up a hive, you can smell foul brood.
Right.
Your hive smells dirty. And you notice cells that are, they sometimes will have holes chewed in capped brood. But if you notice cells that have bees or brood that just kind of looks yucky, take that wooden match and stick it, and it comes out like a booger.
Yeah.
Okay? You go,
Yeah, thank you.
and at that point in time,
The larva will actually sink to the wall. The wall
That's
actually
what
becomes,
says re-queen.
yeah,
Okay? So,
it'll actually scale. So when you pick up a frame that has American foul brood in it, and you're looking at it, you can see scale. You'll see where the larva is actually sunk into the side of the cell, and it turns brown, then it turns black. But it's not, in fact, just when it's hard, it's only when it's soft. So I want to point out on this side here that I have a hole here in the front for ventilation. And in fact, propolis here where the bees have decided that they didn't want it quite that big. But in the wintertime, I winter most of my hives two-story, some I winter single depending. But they have adequate ventilation. in the wintertime, because remember, they're all going to go up. So anyway, we're checking the brood, making sure that there's honey. We want to put, if we have a feeder, put it on the south wall, so that there's there's warmth for the sugar in it. This is so embarrassing. It's killing me.
You take some honey.
I got a cough drop. So anyway, I'm going to take the bees here. I'm going to check each frame. Here's a new frame of foundation, but I'm going to check for brood, and I'm going to take each frame, if it's got pollen, or if it's got brood, or whatever it's got, I'm going to send it back down into the bottom. So eventually this hive will be, this super is going to go into the hive body. So we want the bees down in here. That's the idea. I got you, thank you. Yes.
Why not just put the bottom super on top?
Well, you can. You can. This one happens to be screwed on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I screwed mine on because I move my bees a lot. So you can just screw them on, and you can simply swap it, flip-flop it. I'm just seeing if you're paying attention. You can see the screen on the bottom?
Why do you do that?
Screen.
Why do you use a screen?
What do you think? Guesses?
Ventilation.
Ventilation, and what I say here? They call it integrated pest management. Yeah. But screen works good for the bees, and I leave it pretty much closed in the wintertime because the wind is what kills bees, as most of us know. So, but in the summertime, you can crank it open, and it's a good way to see what's going on in the hive. It's like a little road map. They're working over here, or there's some mites here, or there's some pollen here. So it's very handy. The cork is just to be able to handle it. Well, this is just called a sticky board, but the whole system is called integrated pest management for varroa mite. So put that in. So basically, all we're doing is checking your hive, making sure that everything is healthy. The brood looks good, there's nothing weird. Looking for the queen. If you can spot the queen, great. If you can't, make sure you've got a good pattern. So what kind of a pattern should a good queen have? Anybody? Anyone? Bueller? Ever see that movie? Yeah. Ferris Bueller's, I use it every time. So tell me, queen, what should it look like? Cells? Eggs? 5 eggs? Cells? What? Semicircle? What about the eggs?
In the dead center of the cell.
Right in the center. If it's not in the center, what does that mean?
You got a sterile female laying.
Usually, a lot of times what happens is, especially when you get your package, bear this in mind, a lot of times when you get bees, the queen initially, because she's new, will not start laying an individual cells. So sometimes she'll start off laying 3 or 4, but give her a couple days and she'll even out. But usually drone layers are the ones that'll have the 5 or 6 eggs in there, and it's pretty bizarre to see. Anybody see 5 or 6 eggs in a cell? Ever see that? Yeah? What'd you do with the queen?
Well, I lost that hive because she just couldn't produce, and I couldn't locate her because it was sort of a hot hive, and I'd get in and they get really active and start moving around. But she couldn't produce.
If you come out to your hive and you see a bunch of drones hanging around, and it's not springtime, it's a good indication that you might have a bit of a problem. So I don't have much more time here. I just want to tell you what we want to do. So primarily, we want to consolidate the top into the bottom so that everything's evenly spaced. I run 9 frames, not 10 because it's much easier. And I run 9 frames with a spacer. Let me show you why. They're always straight. They're called castellated frame spacers. All my hives are branded. All my equipment is branded because I was an apiary inspector and I saw people steal bees, and I've just always been paranoid ever since. If you want to put, in a lot of other ways too, what's this called? Okay, so what's this little notch for? Okay? So you can run it winter primarily. You can use it like that. One little notch for wintertime, or you can open it up like this. Once you have a really strong hive of bees, let them rip. Once you have about 8 frames of bees, you know, you can handle everything. It's like, that's when the robbing starts, when they can't protect themselves, so that's what that's all about. So, checking for the queen, checking for disease, checking for honey. What do I miss?
When is the earliest we can start doing that in the spring?
Do it right now. Should have done it 3 weeks ago. No, as long as it's not freezing at night, it's cold at night, but as long as the days are warmer, the bees are going to move everything around you touch anyway. They're going to reorient wherever you, if you put honey here, they don't want it there, they're going to move it around. So your best thing is to center everything in the hive, and then the bees will move. If they need honey, they'll move it from one side to another.
That's a cough drop down
Yeah, I got one in my throat, but it's just not working. It must be the wrong time. But thank you very much. Anybody else? Any questions? Totally confused? Okay. So we went from the bees were up here, we put them down there because they were down, we had to put them up. And we knocked the entrance down to that, so it's ready to go for the season. Okay? And if you're going to do a package of bees, all you do is, I take an empty box, I take the frames out of this, and I take and put the package on end inside there, and I take and let the bees crawl out, so they don't have the frames in there. So anyway, for what it's worth. Thank you for your patience, I appreciate it.